I think Sandeep sir usually says that if you are able to manage 200 RC passages, you will start developing your understanding.
How many did you
So
do?
actually, I don't have a number, but around 200.
I've crossed 200. My
Yeah,
God. Yes.
because in one of my questions in Quant, I think it was towards the end. So they mixed arithmetic, numbers, number properties, and algebra in one question, and it was something like very calculative and very complex type of problem. So what I should have done there is I should have substituted the option that and I should have gotten the answer quickly. But actually, I wasted some time. So I had some time in hand because I had finished Quant well before time. So I was able to manage that way. But this is something which I realized later. But something specific like shift in mindset was when I started working, that was a big shift in mindset from college to corporate. I knew I had to do something now because I always had that regret in my mind that I wasted that time. It was the perfect time to study and give my GMAT.
Congratulations. Look at that score, 695. Look at that
Thank
email.
you.
It says you had a score of a 610 in last year, June 2023, the classic edition.
Correct.
Big leap, 695 with verbal reasoning 100 percentile, and quant 89 percentile and data insight 79 percentile. Now you tell me, Gaurang, how do you feel when you look at this score? And definitely tell me all the changes that you have adapted from this classic edition to focus edition.
Okay, so first I'll start with how I'm feeling. So I'm obviously feeling very good. I was elated to see the score in the test center. So it was just a sigh of relief that, okay, this is out of the way. GMAT is done. So uh, my journey has actually been full of ups and downs. So I started in, I think, April 2023. So that time I did not know about TOPS. So I was studying with someone else, like I had joined some other course. So in that, I did not actually develop depth in my all of my topics. So it was just like skimming the topics and going through them and not actually developing a lot of depth. As Sandeep sir says, that depth is the most important thing. So that is true actually. So it was obviously not very good. 610 was very disappointing for me. And the second attempt was kind of in in haste. I just gave it because classic edition was discontinuing. So I just thought that let me try my luck or let me just go out and give it. But anyway, it was my preparation was not so good. So I just gave it. Then in March, I thought that I would start Focus Edition with like I'll go on guns, all guns blazing, and I'll start it with everything, like give it my all. So it started well. I was a student of the live classes, so slowly and gradually I started to develop depth in most of my topics. So my quant was good. So like I got quant 49 my previous attempt also, but verbal was something like okay, this sounds correct, so maybe this is correct. So I did not actually have a good idea of how to predict the answer in CR, how to apply the logic, and in RC, how to read logically. So this happened all because of TOP's guidance and especially Sandeep sir. Yeah.
He was right there through on the live classes. Now, a little bit background about yourself. You started this preparation when you were undergrad, and now you are
Yeah.
working. So, give me a mindset in terms of mindset. When you initially started, what were your thought process? Why did you consider doing when you were, in your undergrad? And more importantly, when you started off your work right now, how easy or difficult comparatively it was to
Mm.
prepare for the exam? Because then now there's a lot of demand as well. So from you in terms of work. So how did you manage?
Yeah. So actually, I'm from NSIT, so I passed out in 2023.
Right,
So I was placed in a good company in 2022 already in
right.
June 2022. So till June 2020, till Jan 2023, I had my free time and I was done with enjoying. So I thought I'll start something now, something productive. So I started with GMAT. So initially, it was kind of like when you are in college, you're in last year, you just want to enjoy that every moment of college. So farewell, then I went for farewell, then there was convocation. So all these things kept coming. So it was not very focused kind of preparation. Then in June, like I graduated, my college was over. So in July, I had to relocate to Bangalore. So I thought I'll give my first attempt before relocating because I thought that job would be demanding and I would not get time. So that is what actually happened. Initially, I did not have time. I had to ramp up on a lot of things when I started working. I had to give a lot of hours. But once I had like a strong hold of my work, and 5 6 months it took me to have a good understanding of my work. So after that, I was actually able to focus on GMAT. So that is when in Feb 2024, kind of, I started to think of GMAT again, like
Starting again. Yeah.
yeah, focused again on that.
So, but it's not usually the case that, not generally, it turned out that, you did get a grip of your work and then you kind of just,
Correct. So
you could take that. But if you look back, if you didn't get a chance, what would you look at? Would you consider going back in time and saying that, nahi, itna college mein time tha, so let me grab that
yeah, that was that.
experience?
Yeah, I used to regret that. So because initially I had to give a lot of time to my work. I was not able to understand a lot of things initially when I joined, and I
Right.
was expected to close on things. Matlab, in corporate, they
Deadlines.
don't uh,
Hmm.
consider all this that okay, you've joined newly, you can get your time all you want. So initially, I had to put a lot of extra hours. So that time I did have this slight regret that I should have done this in college. I should have not wasted that time I had.
Right.
But once I got a strong hold, I was able to manage. Like it was a bit relaxed for me also. Like the work culture was fine once I had everything that was needed for my work.
Right. So diving deeper into the preparation, how did
Yes.
you master the weakness section, which is the verbal section, and master
So
to an
yeah,
extent that you got 100 percentile, much
I
more than data insights and quant.
so verbal actually it was a very slow process for me.
Right.
I used to get some things, I used to miss some things. I used to go through things again and again. So
Mm.
CR, I developed a good understanding of CR as soon as I started with this top content helped me manage CR well. So CR kind of it was okay. I could understand, okay, yeah, in weekend we have to think this way on these lines, and assumption questions we have to think on these lines. So the main problem was RC. So I think initially when Sandeep sir teaches octave, he asked us to do I think 10 or 12 questions based on octave. So I did not actually get even one passage right. Like I got three, four right out of all the questions in 12 passages. So this was my state in RC when I started. But then slowly and gradually, this RC 700 to 800 document was very helpful, and TOPS portal was also very helpful. So the sectional and topic-wise tests, those are very good to develop depth and develop your understanding. So
Right.
that is how I went about it. And actually, I used to give a lot more time to verbal. That's why maybe I missed out on DI, even though my DI used to be strong.
Wrong. No, see, I'm sure if Sandeep sir was in this position, you may not be able to answer this question that I'm going to ask. So I'm going to take that leverage to ask this question. RC was the first section, first ever class in your life classes that sir took, right? And you mentioned that RC में ही सबसे ज़्यादा problem होता था.
It
Like
was
you used
very
to
good.
really struggle. That's what he said. How did you manage? What is that level of like? How was there any frustration in the very beginning? How did you
Yes,
really pick
there
up?
used.
How did you actually manage and really, given that hours every day, single day, every single day, every single session, what was
Yeah,
your
so
strategy?
it just started to click. Like I think Sandeep sir usually says that there is if you are able to manage 200 RC passages, you will start developing your understanding.
How many did you
So
do?
actually, I don't have a number, but around 200.
I've
Matlab,
crossed 200. My
yeah,
God. Yes.
cross. So that is when it started to click. I used to understand, yeah, okay, so this is what is expected from the question. Inference, RC inference, okay, I have to go back to this part of the passage. I have to think like this. The thought process started to develop.
So, what about the time for each of the sections? So, understanding and getting an accuracy is one part of it, and that's the initial part of it. How did you, manage the time to complete each question in a certain time?
Correct.
100 seconds,
So
90 seconds, 60 seconds.
So initially for quant also, my understanding was good for quant, but the problem was time, as it is with many students. So I used to do these sectional quant tests and what do we call it? Topic-wise quant tests.
Right.
So towards the end, before my exam, I think I had exhausted all those questions. I had done everything in quant. So I started to develop my pace when I started with these quant sectional tests. I think there are 8 to 9 tests on the portal. So in the first 2, 3 tests, it was I used to miss out on some questions in the end because of time. But after 3, 4 tests, it started to happen. Like the speed came naturally, and I was able to navigate in quant. In verbal for RC, it used to take me a lot of time. Like my accuracy was also low, my time was also high. So, but like I said, I practiced a lot on the portal, especially and 700 to 800 document. And I what else did I do for RC? Yeah, that's it. I think for 700, 800, and
You
this.
touch on those marathon series and RC awareness,
Yes. Oh, yes. I forgot about long sitting. Yeah, actually, long sitting was also very helpful. So
right?
RC long sitting and CR long sitting was very helpful. I did those two just 3, 4 days before my exam. So it kind of warmed me up for the exam that, okay, I need to get my brain running in this way. And marathon, I had seen the video and the questions I had done as the video was playing. So marathon, actually, I did not do it properly as it is supposed to be done.
Right. So since it's been a little time since you prepared, so the next question you may answer, you may not answer, but you've already said one thing. So essentially, what I'm asking here is that there were quite a few challenges, as you mentioned, right? And you've clearly done very well. But what is the mindset shift? Because then, if you're not if you're not seeing any progress, sometimes it so happens,
Correct.
and it is all to do with this, your mindset, with the perspective that you go, you look at any given question. So, any mindset shifts or resilience technique that helped you stay focused and improve? So, in RC, you already mentioned keep doing questions, and at least you hit 200 questions. That's what you recall. Any other thing that you recall and you practice that Sandeep sir said?
Sandeep sir said, and I practiced. Yeah, actually, everything I did was based on Sandeep sir's lines, whatever he said. But something specific like shift in mindset was when I started working. That was a big shift in mindset from college to corporate. I knew I had to do something now because I always had that regret in my mind that I wasted that time. It was the perfect time to study and give my GMAT. So that was always there. And one more thing was that I knew I had to be consistent to do this because earlier I had been very inconsistent. So when I got 640 in my second attempt, that is when I was very inconsistent. I studied for 2 weeks and I left studying for 2 weeks. It happened like that. So obviously Sandeep sir also stretches a lot on this that consistency is what you need. So this time I was kind of very consistent. I did not even miss a single. Matlab, maybe there were some days, but from what I remember, I did not miss even a single day where I did not study anything. Even
Right,
if I'm exhausted from work or if I'm very tired, I used to give half an hour, 1 hour going through some topic or practicing some questions.
right,
So
right.
it was this just, I'd say, determination to do it and get done with it.
Get done with it. So, direct on the exam day, of course, just before the exam, how did you utilize the portals? How did you utilize the support resources at Top 1%, which is including academic help from the faculty? Could you just give a brief about how many tests have you actually taken and what was your mocks reflecting like at the time? And when did you actually know, ki, acha, chalo, I am now ready to, book my date and give my exam?
So I gave the exam on 25th August. And I had this plan in my mind that on 15th August, which was a holiday for me, I'll give a mock from MBA.com and I'll decide what happens. I'll decide my
Date.
when to give the exam based on the score. So in that mock, I actually got 695 only. Even though the sectional split was different, Quant was way better than verbal. So I got 695. Then I grew some confidence. I thought that okay, my preparation is fine. Then actually I went back to some of the previous scorers of top. So I saw their videos and they were kind of saying that your MBA.com mocks are very indicative of the actual test. That is actually true. So I thought, yeah, okay, if it is actually indicative of the actual test, then 695 is fine. I'll book a test for the coming weekend, which is 25th. Then I thought I'll give a top test on the Sunday after 15th August. I don't remember the date. So I gave a top test and in that I actually scored around 575.
Oh
So
my.
I got demotivated. I was thinking like, should I change my date? What should I do? What should I do? But then I thought, no, I'll go ahead with this. I'll just practice. I'll forget about this mock. Maybe it was a day off for me. I analyzed the mock. Obviously, I understood my mistakes. Some of them were actually silly mistakes. So it was kind of a day off for me. And then I had planned in such a way that the remaining days I'll do one sectional test for each section, so quant, DI, and verbal. And on Thursday and Friday, I took off from work for this GMAT. And I did long sittings and error log. I went through all the questions I had done. So on Saturday, I had analyzed my two MBA.com mocks and the other top mocks and error log. That's it. And Sunday, I just revised the notes and I went for the exam.
So you have highlighted a couple of points here. One is that you don't have to book the exam date like way ahead, 10 days also you can exactly book your date and you could get any center of your choice. Second, obviously not to underwhelm or overwhelm when you get this particular score, really remain very calm throughout. Third,
Yes,
you relied on the people who have been there, done that, and
please.
yeah, because then they are the source at multiple levels. You would hear Sandeep sir also say the same thing, or any one of us say the same thing. But an incredible, unknown source of support comes when you see a fellow colleague or a fellow, aspirant who has done that, and he also gives an assurance about the same. And fourth, you just gave us a, overall, what are the last few things so that you still remain calm through your preparation and you give your best with all the practice. I mean, truly to say, when you do passages, 200 number of questions and then to 200 300 questions of CR or similar levels of questions. It what we I feel I know and which cannot be explained is it is all in your muscle memory कि उस दिन जाके
Correct.
सही हो जाएगा. And it should also be that you have to be very vigilant and you have to know the environment at least. Environment should not shock you, right? Suddenly this that then that may add to an extra problem. But if you're
Correct.
comfortable with the test environment and you've given mocks at least a couple of times and the exam center is not a shocker, then you should really, I mean, that works, right? Would you like to summarize a little bit, add something more to what I've summarized for you?
Yeah. So I think one thing is that you should actually, in some questions, I'm talking about quant actually. So in some questions, you can actually rely on the options. So you can directly substitute the options and get the answer instead of trying to get the answer from the question.
Right.
So in one of my questions in quant, I think it was towards the end. So they mixed arithmetic, numbers, number properties, and algebra in one question, and it was something like very calculative and very complex type of problem. So what I should have done there is I should have substituted the option that and I should have gotten the answer quickly. But actually, I wasted some time. So I had some time in hand because I had finished quant well before time. So I was able to manage that way. But this is something which I realized later.
After giving.
And yeah, after giving the exam. And in DI also, I was kind of a little disappointed with my score because I could have done better. So
Right.
when I gave the exam, I just saw 695. I did not even look at the sectional split. I was so happy that okay, 695. I'm
Yeah.
relieved. It's fine. Then when the official score came, then I was looking at my DI score. So now we get the enhanced score report kind of thing. We can see what questions went wrong. So I was looking at that. So I was kind of disappointed that I got 7 or 8 questions incorrect in DI.
Right. So
So
if you look back at all the questions that you've got right and wrong in all the sections, what are the do's and the don'ts you would say that you could have done for yourself? Perhaps, let's say if you were just before the exam, or maybe for someone who's starting out or in the middle way, or almost the same point as you just before.
so one thing is that you need to keep a track of time. That if a question has taken already 2.5 minutes, you need to skip it. You need to mark it for review and skip and go on to the next question. You should not spoil your paper because of one single question. And sometimes, like it happened with me also, luckily I had a lot of time in Quant, so I could spend some extra time on some questions. But sometimes you tend to get attached to a question. No, this question is easy. I can solve it. I have to solve it. Sometimes this happens. So this should not actually happen. And one more thing is, like I said, you can actually use the options to get the answer. And for verbal, I think verbal went very smoothly for me. There were no shockers. So I was able, RC was also simple for me. Like I found it easy. And I think I had only three RCs, rest were all CRs. And CR was going very smoothly for me. RC, I had one question wrong, and I can't remember which question it might be because I think it was uh, fine for me. Like every answer I got, it was uh, within there in the options. So verbal is done. And for DI, I think I might have made some silly mistakes in some data sufficiency questions. And in one or two questions, I can remember that, okay, I had this thing in my mind that I can solve it, but I wasn't able to solve it maybe because of the time pressure or something. Because DI, I was not in time. Like I had wasted some time in some initial questions. That was a mistake I made. So because of that, in the later questions, which are actually easy, I could not solve them in time and I had to actually skip them. So that is where I got two, three more wrong.
So the only
So
thing that you would like to change if you were given an option is to be able to do it on time, practice first on time, and then maybe even the exam, right? Is there
yeah,
anything else that you would like to add in your DI preparation or practice?
DI preparation, I think preparation wise, DI was good for me. Like data sufficiency was fine. I used to get stuck sometimes on some two-part analysis questions, but in the end, I had done it. I don't know, on the exam day, maybe something did not work out for me on DI.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think DI was also kind of doable. The questions were doable. It was, I think, more of a me problem not being able to do them.
Overall, your message to Sandeep sir for, after looking at the score.
Yes, and so Sandeep sir, it all happened because of him. Like I did not even know how to do verbal, like, even not even a single question I could get right initially when I joined. So initially it was all based on that my intuition. So I used to think, okay, this sounds correct, so maybe this is correct. I did not have this thought process of predicting the answer and getting the answer correct. And quant was also, I developed a lot of depth because of Sandeep sir. I increased my speed in quant because of Sandeep sir's tips. So he used to tell us that uh, You just need to focus wherever you are. You just need to focus on the question you're doing. You have to switch off your phone. You have to get rid of everything. You need to disconnect yourself from the social world. So it is actually true for me. So I actually disconnected from the social world for the last 2 3 weeks.
Wow.
I had no Instagram, and I just used to go to office, come back, study, go to office, come back, study. This was my schedule. Do
That's
some
a great
productive thing.
determination. Now, what next for you? What are your academic or professional milestones that you're going to be doing now? Because are you giving yourself some time at work, gather experience, or are you going to be applying immediately this year?
Actually, I did not evaluate all of the options. So I had this thing in my mind that I need to get a GMAT score first. Everything else is secondary. So I'll start evaluating now. Maybe I'll apply in round two now in January for 2025 intake. That is possible. Or else next year I'll start with my applications. I'll start with all the colleges I need to target. I'll start researching
Yes.
for 2026 intake, maybe.
Amazing insights, Gaurang, from a 610 in your previous attempts in the previous way of preparation, in your previous classic edition to a 695, which is a 99 percentile. A great leap of faith, I mean, the jump, right? And most importantly, the faith and trust that you had with Sandeep,
Yeah.
and obviously your live classes. I have to obviously congratulate on behalf of Sandeep sir, on behalf of the top 1% for trusting and for getting this phenomenal score. We wish that whenever you do apply, you get the admit of your choice. And all the very best. Stay connected. Let us know whenever you need help. The information sessions about the B School Authority Sir is right there around the corner. You can attend few of these sessions before you get started. Just gather what all you would require in the realm of your application, in the realm of your working professional uh, scheme of things, right? And then you can add it all together. And then when the time comes, you put it all together, right?
Yeah. So one thing I'd like to add is obviously no teacher can work any magic. The hard work is your own. But what the teacher is guiding and what the teacher is saying and his content and his clarity of thought actually helps you a lot. So I would not take any names, but I previously where I was studying, the thought process they kind of instilled in me was very different from what Sandeep sir instilled in us. So he actually taught us how to believe in ourselves. I had never even targeted this 695. Earlier I used to target 700 in classic edition. So this is actually equivalent to 750. So this development of
Belief
mindset,
system is there. The ability to want more than what you can or what you thought is in the realm of
yes,
possibility. I think
you
that
should not limit yourself.
yes, because then if you limit, then you'll have limited choices.
Correct.
And if
And especially the content also. So if the top content is something like you have everything in one place, you just need to go through this. You just need to follow this golden book of rules and you'll have
so
it.
how I should have asked this question in the very beginning, but how did you hear about Sandeep and Top 1%?
So one of my brothers actually had done top 1% coaching
Yes,
previously.
easier to kind of then
So so he vouched for Sandeep sir. He said that after I got 610, I talked to him. So he told me that start with top, you'll be able to manage. That's it.
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, generally that's the case, especially when it comes from someone who's been there, done that. You don't have to again evaluate your options. And so hence, we are obviously 15 years through. And
Okay,
if you do
that's
have
nice.
anybody who is almost preparing or in your juniors who's looking out or you're asking any questions for you, you can always connect them to us. We'd like
That
to
is needless to say. I'll anyway connect if anyone asks me
so
because
thank
it
you
has
so
helped
much
me
for
so much.
joining me this evening. You came back from office and you rapidly connected with me. This is like incredible. Thank you so much, Gaurang, for your time and for your insights.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you.
Bye. Take care. You have a good evening.
Bye bye.